So far, things are shaping up in a pretty standard manner, right? Clem is just going for a Marine fast expand, or actually no, he has a Reaper out on the map, excuse me. And Zest is going for the 1-gate fast expand and followed it up with the Stargate, and it's Oracle into Phoenix, but I do believe the Reaper just spotted the Oracle there, so Clem knows what's up. Very important for Zest not to fly this thing into a Widowmine. I don't want to brag, Nate, but I'm pretty good at that.
You're pretty good at flying into the mines or avoiding them?
No, flying into
Okay. Well, you know what? They do have this really nice little laser sight thing, right? It feels like you're going to a pretty cool party. And when the Oracle turns its laser on too. But as you said, he's getting very close. He can see that line targeting from the mine. So says, okay, I'll grab the worker on the outside and then head back over towards the main. But that's where the Marines are, so maybe another SCV or two. And then the Viking coming out is going to bring a big end to this, especially with that anti-armor damage. The Oracle will die very quickly if it tries to kill workers next to that Viking.
Zest doesn't have a proper read on what Clem is doing, because unless I'm mistaken, Mapu, I don't think Zest has seen the 3rd command center yet of Clem. So Zest may be misreading this a little bit, thinking like, oh, this is like an early push, I need to really respect this. Zest still does not have a Twilight Council or a Robo 6 minutes into the game. I think this is crazy. We've got a lot of very simple gateway units, and hey, if the Marines don't have Stim or Combat Shield, I guess it's pretty good. And Zest is gonna clean this up. I mean, I actually would have liked to see Clem just disengage when he was halfway across the map. Scaring Zest is one thing, but now he kind of scared him and he committed, but he kind of just angered the beast.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, you actually don't have as many units as I thought you did. Maybe I built a bunch of stuff thinking you would, but now that just means I can counterattack and get a ton of damage done, and we'll see how much further he tries to go in here. There is a siege tank behind the bunker. Zealots not really known for their fear of siege tanks, and once they get on top of the SCVs, that splash gets annoying, so the Phoenix are going to try to remove the tank from the equation while the Zealots continue to push through that choke.
I am watching 7 slow Zealots into the Terran, walk into the Terran natural 7 minutes into the game.
Yeah, and hey, he still has the Phoenix for the harassment, and this is when on the side of Clem, you're really wishing you still had those Vikings and those Cyclones, because those are going to function best defensively. But even a stasis trap pulling a handful of SCVs away from the mineral line for a little bit while those Phoenix continue to bring pressure. I mean, there's also the auxiliary benefit of those medevacs, right? Or excuse me, of the Phoenix, that he can't really move the medevacs out that easily because he could get spotted if he tries to go for a drop. 4 High Templar is nothing to scoff at, Ronnie. That's a lot of storms. That's potentially thousands of damage if he can drop those and get some big storms on the center of that biomass. So much opportunity. There's a lot of Widow Mines here too, though, which can kind of complicate things. So he goes into storms, over the mines, over the bio, and those... Okay, he pulls the Warp Prism outside of the range of the mine just in time to warp in extra Zealot reinforcements, and there's a whole lot of Protoss here at Clem's 3rd, Roddy.
Yep, I think those storms were good enough. We're going to pull the SCVs, but Archons are amazing against SCVs. The mines may fire again eventually. I don't know where the Observer is. Clem is microing his heart out. That's actually phenomenal that he kept those units alive. But his Orbiter is still in a lot of danger. We have plenty of mines here, though, that are ready to fire again. Wow, what a in a way, a hold by Clem. I mean, sure, he lost a lot of SCVs. But I think a lot of Terran players would have just lost the game there. Clem is still in it, but definitely behind.
Definitely a lesser Terran loses right there. That's where the game ends. Now, Zest is not done. He does have another Prism ready to rock and roll. He still has High Templar ready to put inside of those as well. Maybe kind of gets a little close there to that, that medevac that's moving around the bottom right. But the 4th base is not... I guess not really protected, so there's a lot of big potential. He's going to go for 1 here and 1 on to that 3rd. 2 workers, meh.
I like the way that Clem is doing this, because these mines are obviously cloaked because of the armory, so this is annoying stuff to deal with for Zest. The armies are getting awfully close to each other in the center, as I believe Clem is trying to start guiding. I mean, we got to address the upgrades, Nate. Clem is about to be 2 full upgrades ahead. I mean, obviously, oh, there's a Widow Mine. Widow Mine connects with the War Prism, but the War Prism does not go down. And once again, 16 SCVs bite the dust. Zest is going to morph these into Archons and get them home safely. I mean, Zest really does not have an economic lead. Obviously, compliments for Clem for replacing all the SCVs he's been losing. Obviously, a bit sloppy by Zest as well. He should have been building a few more probes and capitalize on the advantage he had. What he does have is an army with Colossi. but there's a lot of Marauders in the mix, and if you're down 2 upgrades and Ghosts are about to appear on the battlefield, I think that Clem is playing a magnificent macro game, Nate. Even though his build gets thrown off over and over again, he's hanging in there, and I'm starting to kind of like Clem's position.
Yeah, this is getting really good. And like we were saying, that 4th base wasn't really super defended. He hasn't put a bunch of cannons and batteries all over it to kind of settle it against, a single or maybe double medevac play. So the light harassment forces are still going to be able to do a lot to Zest's expansions. Now, he is finally getting his 2-2. That's going to be not too far away. But he's about to attack right before it, almost like a soft anti-timing.
Yeah, there's a couple of Widow Mines connecting with the Zealots. EMPs landing on the main army. We've got Vikings in the mix too. The Storms are all right, but I'm afraid they are not good enough. Obviously, the Viking count isn't that high yet, so these Colossi are the biggest problem, but Clem still has a lot of bio units here, and if these Marauders get on top of the Colossi, it gets very dicey. What a close fight. More SCVs are being pulled. Nathanius, I think Clem will barely be able to hang in there.
Yeah, those Marauders you were talking about getting so much done. The Colossi are the only units to survive, and weirdly enough, the supply ends up being just still very, very close to them. Zest with his minor lead, he gets another warp in going, Archons coming in, but the Colossi kind of have to retreat because, well, hey, they not really much answer for any Vikings that are out on the map, and there is a potential that if Zest tries to push again here, maybe he finds a way to kind of close it out, but if he overextends, then you're letting Clem right back into the game again. So shore up that 4th base maybe before you try to go for another attack is about all I can really think of, or try to grab a 5th. I don't know. But he's not even minding the gas here either, right?
It's a very tricky position for Zest. I think maybe if he would have gone immediately again, but he had no prism, right? And it's so hard to commit to a fight without a prism because he would absolutely need reinforcements. Clem, once again, is just doing a phenomenal job in replacing workers he's losing. Because right now it's 57 workers against 53. But I'm going to make a guess and say that Zest has killed a solid 60 SCVs in this game. And the fact that it's this close, and now the armies are getting close, it's 72.
72? Ay.
Zest should be further ahead than he is. He's still got a big army, but he's playing a dangerous game, Nate. Clem is now even going up to a 5th base. I think that's getting a little bit too carried away because what he needs to do is deal with this Protoss army.
Yeah, now I like he pulls the Zealots back so that the Colossi can kill the Widow Mines first. Now he has that high ground position over this area. It's a couple Stalkers, a couple Archons to deal with just 2 Vikings. Shouldn't be too much for the Colossi to deal with. The Prism as well, adding in a little bit of juggle factor on that. But once those Zealots die, Marauders, they love Stalkers and Colossus.
Oh, Zest, why are we so aggressive? I mean, he kills 24 SCVs. That's great, Nate. He's got 1,400 minerals in the bank. He's going to spend that with a couple of Zealots, but he is throwing away an army that could potentially become an invincible army over and over again. And I believe that 5th command center, I don't know if it's being cancelled or not, or maybe it's being killed during all of this. Clem is up 16 army supply, but the thing is, Zest has been so in Clem's face that if you're Clem right now, you've got no idea whether you're actually doing good or if you're playing a hopeless game. He's just going to try because this is the Into Extreme Masters. We know that this game is still awfully close, and I mean, both players are just throwing everything that they have at each other, and at this point they can't even afford 3-3 upgrades. I mean, it's super close, but I think Clem's army is simply better than Zest's army, unless Zest can land Miraculous Storms. I don't even know if we have any template. He's making more Zealots, Nate. What? He's got 43.
Yeah, this is when you take the once you pop you can't stop. When you take it too far. We're at 43 goddamn. Look at this. Look, is he playing Zerg? What's going on over here? Okay, the 300 Spartans charge into a 5th base and it has to lift into the air. Some feedbacks on the Ghosts, trying to get rid of some of the EMP potential, I assume?
The orbital was so low. I mean, I know that Zealots don't shoot up, but he was so damn close to picking that thing up. Now, in the end, Clem, will repair his previous main base. We've got more Zealots. Zest is pretty much maxed out on Zealots. All that Clem really needs to do is make sure that his army is in a good spot when he takes the fight here. It is nothing but Zealots. Guardian Shields, here we go. And we are going to kite for days, Nathanius.
It's an ugly-looking zombie movie, Roddy, because at the end of the day, the Marines, Marauders, and Ghosts with all this backup can, in fact, fight against an unending torrent of melee warriors. Zealots do come in from the back off another Warp Prism reinforcement, but once those Zealots are gone, the Stalkers get a little bit softer, a little bit harder to get on top of, and I think not having an upgrade advantage there also hurts because now that that's done, the Immortal's gonna die. The Stalkers, they can blink, they can try to run away, but there's not really a lot of them. And once again, the supplies get evened, which I think in this type of situation has to be good for Clem, right?
Yes, but his army did lose a lot of firepower. It's a lot smaller than it was before. Zest does have +3 attack now. And during all of that, Zest once again killed 20 SCVs. He has killed over 100 SCVs in this game, and he's about to get a few more. Like Clem's army, if it grows a little bit, as he gets a big Widowmine shot from downtown. Hello, Steph Curry. Didn't know he was a Widowmine these days, Nate. I know the Golden State Warriors are not that good anymore, but to become a Widowmine. Okay.
For anybody who's, if you played game StarCraft in your life, or StarCraft 2, excuse me, rather, then you know that killing Terran workers is actually one of the hardest ways to try and kill them because, as we've been talking about, the Protoss takes that big blow. Those probes, they're a little bit more fragile. You don't have mules. But for the Terran player, if you lose 15, 20 SCVs, you're like, okay, yeah, it'll take me a little bit to rebuild them, but at least I have mules as a buffer. I can still keep the income going. I can still keep it flowing. You'd rather them kill some of your workers than kill your actual army so that you can keep the pressure up as a Terran.
I do love that Zest is adding a couple of Colossi again. I think it's super smart because the Viking count is low. Obviously, we do have a lot of Marauders and they're powerful too, but if Zest would have done this a bit sooner, I think this game would have been so much better for him. But he's going to try to make magic happen one more time with an outrageous amount of Zealots, and he's using double Prism Storm drops. That's outrageous. That's really cool. Is it good enough to win this fight, though, Nate?
Not entirely sure. He's taken a big part of the army down. I think the important thing to keep in mind is what the power unit status is, because we had that one Colossus in there. Keeping that alive is big. Okay, I was waiting for the observer. If all those mines had blown up on the army, that could have actually been it right there.
EMP is connecting with the Archons again. I love these Stalkers are very fragile too. I thought that was a sick move by Zest, having a Prism on the left side, but then also a Prism on the right with the flanking High Templar. He got the most beautiful storm he could have wished for. It's just still, the rest of his army isn't that good. He's lost 188 Zealots in this game, and he has killed 127 SCVs. I mean, killing 127 SCVs is awesome, but if only he would have done it off the back of a stronger economy himself.
Yeah, he hasn't had the money. And even now, you pointed out earlier, he was doing it off 57 instead of 80. He's got knocked down to 44. We haven't really seen him make an investment to try to get back over that hump. He wants to try and push the issue. He wants to try and get it done. But I don't think Clem's going to give it to him. Well, first Prism goes down. Second one is even lower on hit points.
That's kind of cool though by Zest, because now multiple Vikings went down for one War Prism, but he still has the backup Prism, even if it's low on HP. And these Colossi do have a lot of range, and they're getting beautiful shots off. These Marauders are not yet on top of these Colossi. They are finally getting in range. Will Clem have enough firepower? Nate, the fight is wild.
Yeah, he's juggling these Colossi like a magician over here, up and down and all around, but the Bio army has been obliterated. 17 more SCVs die. Widowmine drags a shot back on from a Zealot to some of the Marines, and that's it. No more Vikings over here with this army, so 3 Colossi with gateway unit support are going to be able to continue to bring that pressure. The only thing you don't want to do is walk into mines, but the observer control looks top-notch, Kev. Zest gets that supply lead, and once again, for like the 7th time in this 26-minute long game, both of them are below 100 supply again. Yep,
I think Clem has no idea how close this game still is. Like in his webcam, he's sighing a lot. He's sighing very deeply. He probably thinks that Zest is rich and has got 120, 130 supply, and he's about to attack him again. It's 71 against 89 supply. And once again, Zest using the double Prism there, picking up the Vikings. These Colossi must have a ridiculous amount of kills. I'd love to see it, Mapu, if you could show us real quick. I feel like they've been around for a while. 15 kills, 8 kills, and well, they were getting a lot of big shots off, that's for sure. 21 kills, there's our winner.
Yeah, that's... Oh man, I didn't even realize we were 27 minutes into this game, Kev. That's how non-stop this has been. I took a second to breathe, and I'm like, oh my god. I guess we got that long, crazy game we were looking for, huh?
It's so good, Nate. Like, Clem looks very defeated. I'm keeping a close eye on the webcam. Clem looks like this game is over, but it's still so damn close. If he can flank the Colossi one time with his Marauders, land a couple of good EMPs, this be massive, because Zest is pretty damn broke. He's been on 44 probes forever. He's not making any. But Clem, it's still so close. If you clean up this army, you win the game.
Yeah, he's trying to get this. Some of the Vikings a little bit further forward than the rest of the army, though, to get picked off. Another one very low. 3 Colossi is a lot to punch through, even with a decent amount of Marauders on the ground. That Prism that we've been talking about is still there, doing the juggling, keeping these units alive. But the Zealot meat is a little bit lower. And I was going to say, Kev, I think almost all of his bases, Zest, is long-distance mining because his mineral patches are gone. And, well, hey, it's just the way that it is, man. But those command centers can always fly somewhere else to get that money, which puts a lot of pressure in a low eco situation onto the Protoss.
Yep, and don't forget about the yellow submarine, the mules. They are absolute king in scenarios like this. Clem may seem like he's very broke with 21 SCVs, but he actually has much better income at this point than Zest. So every second that goes by, that's gonna adjust soon, Mapu. It always takes a little while when he needs to drop the mules. Okay? Don't you call me out. But okay, he's taking a very adventurous fight here. Bayun is gonna kite one more time. Basically what Clem needs, I feel like, is 7 Vikings. If he can get up to 7 Vikings, he could still do it. But Zest obviously knows that he's on the clock too, and he wants to prevent this at all costs.
Man, what a crazy, crazy game this turned into. You know, I'm also realizing now that there's no gas income anymore for Clem. He hasn't taken geysers on any of his bases, so he's kind of, he can only build Marines. A medevac gets killed, and that's it. He taps out. He can't build anything to fight against that army. And after